Welcome back to the Pops Podcast, where we uncover real, raw, and rarely discussed truths about pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Muery, prenatal and postpartum chiropractor, birth doula, and founder of Move Moms at Move Chiropractic Boulder. Today, we're diving into one of my favorite pregnancy myths. I wouldn't totally classify this topic as a myth, but as you can read by the title, we are talking about pregnancy cravings. And if you tuned in last week, we talked a little bit about sensory overload through the five senses, and we talked a little bit about taste and why certain things why taste is just too much sometimes, or why nothing tastes good during pregnancy. And today, we're taking a much deeper dive into the cravings that come through pregnancy, whether it's crazy or not. I think a lot of times we think about pregnant women and what crazy cravings they might have, or what weird out of the norm cravings that they have, weird things that they eat, when that is not totally the truth of the why behind cravings and their purpose throughout pregnancy. So that's what we're talking about today. I want to dive in by talking about cravings as a biological sign and what our body is trying to tell us when we have certain cravings, specifically during pregnancy. So your body knows what it needs until it kind of doesn't, depending on where you're at in pregnancy and what's happening in your life. In theory, pregnancy cravings are a sign of your body's inner intelligence. If you're craving citrus, maybe your body's asking for some vitamin C. Are you craving a steak? Maybe your body is craving iron or B12. Craving pickles, maybe possibly sodium or even some support for your digestion. This perspective makes sense, especially if you are depleted or not eating a wide variety of foods and nutrients in your diet. So your body will send signals to your brain or through your gut-mind connection for different cravings to satisfy those needs in your gut or in your stomach. When your system is balanced, cravings feel more functional, like your body gently nudging you toward what it needs to stay supported. But here's the catch. Biological signals can be helpful, or they can be hijacked. And in pregnancy, hijacking happens a lot. Sometimes hormones, sensory shifts, emotional changes, or gut changes all layer on top of this system, and suddenly what used to feel like a body of wisdom now feels very confusing or random in the sense of cravings. And so what do we mean by this hijacking? What's actually happening with our hormones, the messaging that's happening between our gut and our brain, that these hormones are getting hijacked. So your cravings are not crazy, your hormones are just loud. Pregnancy brings a tidal wave of hormonal changes. Estrogen, progesterone, HCG, leptin, and ghrelin all rising and falling and shifting in new rhythms every week, every trimester, depending on how you look at it. These changes don't just affect your reproductive system, but they directly influence your hunger and fullness cues, what tastes good or smells good or disgusting, emotional response to food, and your body's sense of safety and satisfaction in relation to food. That's why something that you loved before pregnancy might suddenly make you gag, or why random food that you've never cared about suddenly becomes a daily favorite. Your sense of smell and taste are supercharged, or sometimes super off, meaning even the thought of certain foods can trigger nausea or a deep, deep, deep craving. Even with clean, organic, well-nourished body, your cravings may still feel pretty chaotic. Not because your body's broken, but because it's adapting. And sometimes adaptation feels confusing and messy. And that sudden blood sugar crash is often what drives the desperate cravings for toast, crackers, juice, cookies, often urges you to snack constantly, even if you're not sure if you're hungry. Or sometimes that 3 p.m. snack where you feel like you need something salty, sweet, crunchy, just something to try to satisfy something that you don't know what the something is. On top of that, your nervous system might be in a state of low-level stress, depletion, or dysregulation. And the brain has one goal in these moments: feel safe now, which is typically food, especially when you feel depleted. However, that's when cravings shift from nutrition to soothing, and we start to grab for salt, something that's more stabilizing, or sugar for quick energy or dopamine drop or boost, or carbs for comfort or serotonin precursor. So even if you're eating raw, organic, clean, nutrient-dense food, your body still might crave some of these other things for more emotion regulation rather than nutrient fulfillment. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that your body is trying to self-regulate the best way that it knows how. So when your body is starting to have these cravings, being smart about what we're filling these cravings with is where we start to shift from that soothing emotional regulation into a more nutrient soothing regulation where our nutrients are still regulating our emotional needs. And we've talked about the gut microbiome so many times this summer. We're going to talk about it again, but this time how it influences some of these cravings. We've talked about how the gut talks to the brain and starts this feedback loop of here's what we need, body produces it, tells the brain what else we need, and it just keeps going back and forth. So a lot of times we think these cravings are just out of nowhere. Our stomachs are in a certain place or the baby's craving something specific, which just isn't the truth. Your cravings are actually your cravings. Your microbes are talking in your stomach to your brain. We know that we have this gut-brain connection where our stomach, our gut tells our brain exactly what we need. Your gut microbiome doesn't stay static during pregnancy. It shifts to help support your baby's immune system and development needs. We know this. But here's a twist. Those microbial changes can influence what you crave. Some researchers believe that certain gut bacteria and yeast may actually influence your cravings to feed themselves, especially sugar-loving strains. That persistent urge for pastries, chocolate, or soda, it might not be you. It might be your inner ecosystem making a request, which is like what we just talked about. When you have those cravings, you have to be smart about what you're filling those cravings with. Are we going for a McDonald's McFlurry or Blizzard, whatever it's called? Or are we actually filling it with maybe some nutrient-dense dark chocolate or some almonds or some yogurt with some protein, whatever it is? Are we filling our body with more chemicals that are just going to increase those cravings and increase our brain's craving for those things? Are we going to start satisfying those cravings with actually fulfilling nutrient-dense foods for those specific cravings? A healthy, balanced gut microbiome can support cleaner, more aligned cravings, but a dysbiotic one where there's an imbalance of bacteria and overgrowth of yeast may send confusing or even compulsive signals. So we have to be thoughtful if we're feeling like we're having these over compulsive sugar cravings all the time. A lot of times that's telling us there is overgrowth of bacteria or yeast in our guts. And we actually need to do some work on cleaning out and making a really safe, healthy environment in our gut so that we also have a really healthy mind. Like I said, it's a feedback loop. What you eat influences your gut, and your gut influences what you eat. Pregnancy naturally shifts this dynamic, and those shifts can make your cravings feel even less predictable, especially if paired with stress, poor sleep, or other digestive changes. There's already a lot of big changes happening in the world. The more consistent you can be with the nutrients in your diet, the more consistent your nutrients in your diet will feel, and the more consistent your cravings will feel. There are a lot of really healthy, clean, what we like to call crunchy Boulder moms in our office. And a lot of times I'll ask them, like, I used to ask them, do you have any crazy pregnancy cravings? And they'd be like, no. I mean, sugar sometimes, but then I'll have some dark chocolate or I'll have an apple or honey, and I'm good to go. It really does depend what you're satisfying each of these cravings with, what the future cravings will be, and what they will be met with. Which takes us into cultural and emotional cravings. Sometimes you're not craving food, you're craving comfort. Not every craving is biological. Some are emotional, symbolic, or deeply tied to memory. Think about it. If you're craving mac and cheese, it might remind you of being a kid at home, or maybe you're craving pickles and ice cream. Maybe you've seen that combo in every pregnancy rom-com ever, and it just sounds like a good idea. Or maybe a drive-through burger. It's fast, it's familiar, and it feels like control in a chaotic season. Pregnancy is emotionally complex, and food is one of the easiest ways we can access safety, control, ritual, connection, and pleasure. Your subconscious might be reaching for a feeling, not a nutrient. And when everything else is shifting, your body, your identity, your relationships, it makes total sense that your brain would ask for something that feels familiar or grounding, even if it's covered in cheese or dipped in ranch. Cravings can be storytellers. They carry layers of culture, childhood, social messaging, coping. A lot of times they are telling a story that is deep, deep, deep beneath of who we are and how we were brought up and what brings us safety in, again, a chaotic season, what can feel like often a chaotic season. Are pregnancy cravings actually real? Okay, you guys, I'm super excited about this new sponsor because it's somebody I've actually been working with for a while now called The Final Punctuation. It's a female-owned, one-woman editing and proofreading service. Her name is Carrie, and she has completely changed how confident I feel putting my words into the world. She's helped me with everything from my brochures to my doula contracts to small marketing things. And not only is her turnaround time incredible, but she helps you to understand the why behind her edits. She sees things that I would have never caught and somehow keeps your voice intact while making everything stronger, cleaner, and clearer. She works with all kinds of creators from bloggers, podcasters, to small business owners, marketing folks, and even students. Anyone putting their words out into the world. And if you've ever posted something and noticed a typo after, you know how it feels. One tiny error can totally kill that first impression. In fact, stats show that only one typo can increase bounce rates by up to 85%, and grammar mistakes turn away nearly 60% of readers. And I know what you're thinking about AI. Can it just take care of all my grammar mechanics? AI still struggles with tone, nuance, and accuracy, which is not a great combo if you're trying to earn trust. So if you're writing anything from podcasts to brochures, website copy, marketing materials, let Carrie take a look at it. Visit thefinalpunctuation.com to submit a request for any project and tell her that you're a Popped Podcast listener for 15% off your first order. That's thefinalpunctuation.com. Now let's get back to the episode. Are pregnancy cravings actually real? If you ever see these pop up on my Popped quizzes, you will now know the answer for the future. Are pregnancy cravings real? They are real, but they're not always rooted in what you think. Pregnancy cravings are real, but it doesn't always mean that they're pointing you to what your body truly needs or is asking for. So yes, cravings change in pregnancy. That part is totally normal, but wild, overwhelming, out of nowhere cravings that feel compulsive or constant, not super normal. That might be a sign of something deeper going on, whether it's blood sugar instability, gut imbalance, nervous system depletion, or unmet emotional needs. And here's what's important. You are not broken if your cravings feel louder than you expected. You are not failing if you want French fries instead of kale. Pregnancy is an adaptive process, and so are your cravings. You have to be able to look past that immediate reach or grab for that instant satisfier that might satisfy our needs and see if we can look a little bit deeper into what our body's craving, what it's looking for, so that we can meet it with a more nutrient-dense food or meal. I really like doing some of these overarching lists at the end of the episode to make sure that you have all the information that you have. I thought for this episode it would be fun to have a little, if this is the craving that you're having, this is what your body's asking for, so that maybe you can either meet it with that craving or meet it with something else a little bit more nutrient dense. So if your body is craving red meat like steak or burgers, you might need iron, B12, protein, or zinc, specifically because your blood volume is increasing significantly and fetal development increases demand for iron and B vitamins. If you're craving citrus like oranges, lemon water, grapefruit, you might need vitamin C hydration or digestive support simply because, I don't know if I said that for the last one, but now I'm going to say it for all of them, simply because vitamin C helps you with iron absorption and immune function. Sour flavors can relieve nausea. If you're craving pickles or salty foods, You might need sodium electrolytes or adrenal support. Your body, with increased blood volume, can dilute sodium levels, and it may signal the need for a mineral balance. If you're craving chocolate, you might need magnesium, iron, or dopamine serotonin boost. Chocolate stimulates feel-good neurotransmitters and may reflect low magnesium stores. If you're craving carbs, bread, crackers, pasta, you might need quick glucose, emotional comfort, or serotonin precursor like tryptophan. Blood sugar swings and nervous system dysregulation, especially early on in pregnancy. This is typically why we start craving carbs. If you're craving cheese, you might need calcium, fat, protein, or vitamin D for bone development, fat-soluble vitamin needs, and grounding when the body feels depleted. If you're craving ice cream or dairy, you might need fat, calcium, sugar, quick energy, or a cooling, dampening effect. Often a combo craving for comfort, minerals, and emotional soothing. Consider maybe some gelato, some frozen yogurt. You can make frozen yogurt with some like frozen berries at home, super easy. If you're craving pizza or greasy foods, you might need fat, sodium, comfort, or grounding. Fat helps stabilize blood sugar and the nervous system, so that may reflect a need for slow burning energy. If you are craving greens, spinach, kale, or salads, you might need folate, iron, fiber, or magnesium. These are nutrient-dense cravings, and they often arise when the body is replenishing. If you are craving fruits, especially berries, watermelons, or apples, you might need antioxidants, hydration, fiber, or vitamin C, typically supportive for digestion, hydration, and immune function, especially in the hot months if you're pregnant during the hot months of summer. If you're craving sour candy or tart foods, you might need nausea relief, digestive stimulation, or vitamin C. This stimulates salivation and may help regulate queasiness and sluggish digestion. If you are craving French fries or potatoes, you might need salt, potassium, or grounding carbs, especially if you're dehydrated with adrenal fatigue. Also, emotionally comforting. I think everybody can agree with that. If you are craving sweets and sugar, you might need quick glucose, energy crash recovery, or a dopamine hit. Often common when you're tired, emotionally drained, or underslept, but not always nutrient driven. So be cautious of our sweets and sugar. If you're craving fast food or specific chains of fast food, you might need predictability, control, or emotional nostalgia. This is often a symbolic craving, often what feels known in a time of the unknown. If you're craving ice or chewing ice, you might be in need of some iron, and I highly recommend you do anything but chew ice because it's so bad for your teeth. And when you're pregnant, your babies are already pulling a lot of nutrients from your teeth, and then when you breastfeed, they're going to pull even more nutrients from your teeth. So don't chew ice because your teeth are not meant for ice chewing. I have two more. If you're craving baked goods like cookies, muffins, or cake, you might need fat, sugar, carbs, or emotional warmth. This combines soothing ingredients with cultural memories of comfort and care. If you are craving peanut butter or nut butters, you are in need of healthy fats, protein, and magnesium, typically great for blood sugar stability, emotional regulation, and nervous system support. Hopefully, those were helpful, and hopefully you can pinpoint some of your cravings. If you have really specific cravings that you feel are so out of nowhere that you cannot describe and they don't feel like they fit in this episode, please DM me because I am super curious. If you feel like you found your way with your cravings, or if you found different ways to satisfy very specific cravings where you were exploring more nutrient dense or more just nutrient filling, raw, clean food for your body, please share so that we can help other mamas or other expecting mamas have a little inside tip on how to support and satisfy their body's needs the best way that they can. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with another mama to be, maybe share with your partner, share with your doula, anybody that's close to you or helping you throughout your pregnancy, labor, birth, and postpartum. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, or whatever feels good to you. I'm Dr. Emily, and you've been listening to the Pops Podcast.